Hello and welcome to an episode of Historically Marked. I am Jason in Tupelo, Mississippi, and I am right here in the parking lot of Elvis Presley's Birthplace complex. And complex is his old house, old chapel, and there's many other things to see. There's some markers here, but where we're going to start is the visitor center, and I don't know what their camera policy is. I know we can't take pictures inside the house, but just follow me and start the tour. Here we go. In front of me is the visitor center where we all start, and here is a car. I'll see. Oh man, flat tire, but your Elvis experience starts here. All right, and that is where you got to go to get in, buy your tickets. And there's also the museum. All right, so the museum, they don't allow any photography or video in there, but it's a really cool one. It's basically talks about Elvis's life in Tupelo as well as his lifelong best friend Janelle. Got a lot of rare photos, memorabilia, all related to Elvis, of course. And the first stop is the house. Now, first off, what is this? The Walk of Life. The scored concrete circle contains granite blocks denoting each year of Elvis's life from the 1935 birth block at the front of the birthplace to the completed circle at 1977. Okay. So 1955, 1956, that was when Heartbreak Hotel came out and Elvis had electrified the world. 1957, number one, All Shook Up. I don't need to go through every year, but I don't know, something I felt like doing. But again, this is the house. I'm gonna go around, check it out. But before I do that, here is a marker about the birthplace. The Elvis Presley Birthplace Park was begun with proceeds Elvis donated from his 1957 concert at the Mississippi-Alabama Fair. Unchanged since it was built in the 1930s, the two-room birthplace sat unoccupied and in poor repair. As Elvis rose to stardom, thousands of fans began coming to Tupelo to see his birthplace and wishing to see the inside of the house. Seeing a worthy project for the park and the city, members of the East Heights Garden Club took the initiative to open the house to fans. While members scrubbed and painted, their husbands made structural repairs needed for the safety of visitors. Requests for period furnishings were published in the local paper. All items in the refitted home were donated by area residents. When the house was opened in 1971, Garden Club members served as volunteer hostesses, often meeting fans outside Tupelo to guide them into the Birthplace Park. Today, the house stands as a memorial to the humble beginning of Elvis's amazing career and a fitting tribute to the vision and dedication of the women of the East Heights Garden Club. And there's a QR code down below. I don't think it's anything on the back. Oh, yeah, there is. All right, so the Presley family originally lived in East Tupelo, which was considered the poorest section, but from 1935 to 1948, that's where they lived. When Vernon Presley built this home for this family, he, Glass, and Elvis were part of a small, low-income community strengthened by family, friends, and faith. Most were related in some way, by blood, church, work, and the need to survive. All were seeking a better life. Women sewed in shirt factories, and men drove trucks or worked in fields. Those who didn't work depended on their wives, children, the church, or the Works Progress Administration. Front porches of the small frame houses were favorite gathering places when work was done. Kids read and swapped comic books and movie star magazines and went to 10-cent movies. Moon pies and RC colas were favorite treats. Adults looked out for neighborhood children just as they did their own. Church revivals were annual summer events. Gospel singing drifted from open church windows throughout the neighborhood. Clapping, shouting, and an occasional amen rang through the night air. Although born in this tiny house to poor parents on the other side of the tracks, Elvis's early life was enriched by the love of family and the basic goodness of his neighborhood. The charity his family often needed and received instilled in him the generous spirit that characterized his life as an adult. Very nice. And that's a donor's plaque, those who helped work on the house. All right, so here is the front of the house. Sign says tickets required for entry. And I've already been told no photography allowed, so I'll see how it goes. So there is an attendant in there that will answer your questions. Like, I asked a couple questions like, how much did it cost for Vernon and his father to build the house? She said $180. I don't know what that is in terms of today, $24. And also, like, how long did the Presleys live here? And of course, it was until Elvis was 3. So that would have been around, yeah, sometime in 1938, because he was born in January. But yes, this was put together by fans for the fans. I was talking about that timeline where it actually starts right here, 1935. And then 1977 was, of course, the last year of Elvis's life at age 42. But I'm not going to go through all of them. But Jesse Guerin was stillborn at 4 a.m. on January 8th. And according to Elvis, he once said that his mom said that if a twin dies, the other twin that survived gets twice the strength in their lifetime. And maybe that was right. It is also worth noting that this house once survived a tornado. In 1936, Tupelo had a very devastating tornado, and I mean, the tornado was mostly outside the town, but the house nonetheless was still spared. The family began attending that church, which, yeah, it's right over there, 1937. But the reason the Presleys moved out of this house was because Vernon was writing bad checks. He was caught. So he was sentenced for 3 years in prison, but he only served 8 months. But still, that left the Presley family financially strapped. Glass had to keep looking for jobs. Home and car possessed. Vernon released from prison. Yeah, now it's 1939. The Grand Ole Opry, powered by a car battery. That's interesting. I mean, that just goes to show what, you know, people who are economically disadvantaged or financially disadvantaged, I guess is the better PC word of saying it, is, I mean, they do what they can to survive and what they can to make their own fun. Elvis entered first grade at East Tupelo Consolidated School. Now, this is something I didn't really see that much in the books, and then while doing research, families spent a lot of time apart due to Vernon's work. I guess because Vernon and Glass were both working long hours, or maybe they didn't see each other that much during the day or at night. Maybe they only saw each other at night. I don't know. This is what the family made. Elvis began singing specials in church in 1944. Old Shep. Now, he learned Old Shep in that building, which I'm about to show you, the church, by his pastor. In a different video, I'll be showing you the place where Elvis bought his first guitar. And then this is where it ends right here in 1948, because that was the last year the Presleys moved in, or lived in Tupelo. It says here, family moved to Memphis seeking a better living. Memphis was a major, I mean, it still is a major city. It is one of the top 50 most populated in the United States today. However, it is also seen its rate of people moving out and losing population and gaining a reputation as one of the top 10 or top 5 U.S. cities with the highest crime rate. Here is the Elvis at 13 statue. This was meant to depict Elvis, the Wanderer. By the way, if you ever get a chance, if you have HBO or HBO Max, be sure to check out Elvis Presley the Searcher. That is a good 2-part documentary on Elvis's life. But he was a curiosity. He was always a curious. I mean, he always wanted to find ways to see the world. I mean, maybe it was his poor upbringing or something. That's what usually happens when, you know, and perhaps that is the reason why he is one of the most beloved figures in history. He had a rags to riches life, like a lot of famous people. And here he is holding his guitar. Oh man. But it says here, dedicated to Elvis Presley fans worldwide, August 9, 2002. And behind the statue are more historical markers. Well, there's two more. But this one is on the Mississippi Country Music Trail series. Elvis Country is titled. Raised on country here in Tupelo, first introduced as the Hillbilly Cat, then by RCA Victor as the hottest new name in country music, Elvis Presley's revolutionary musical mix always had country as a key ingredient. Appearing on the country charts over 50 times, Presley's music pushed traditional country towards the modernizing Nashville sound, which followed the pop, if not the rock and roll path he'd fashioned. Elvis would record the country songs he loved throughout his career. So like all the country music trail Mississippi markers, it has a lot of photos, it's got a lot of biographical information about the country music artist. They're all over the state of Mississippi, and it's also got like a record side. Like that's one of Elvis's earlier Sun records, the Blue Moon of Kentucky. I'm not going to read that, I mean, because I'll be visiting a lot of places, and maybe it's stuff that you already know, but now for most of us already know that, yes, he did start out on Sun Records, but he also made the leap of faith to RCA Records, which promoted him better, and they arguably introduced him to the world. And that was when they announced that they acquired Elvis in November 1955, and just not even a year later, Heartbreak Hotel would give him a brand new audience outside the South. Here's some old pictures, him and Johnny Cash, the Jordanaires, which were his backing band the whole time, and Elvis with Parents in 1942, and then that's him debuting on the Louisiana Hayride Barn Dance Radio Show in 1954. And for those who care, this is marker number 12 on the Mississippi Country Music Trail. This was put up in 2011. I hope to visit more of these. I mean, if I make more trips to Mississippi. There's another one, but this is from the Mississippi Blues Trail. And just like I said with the Country Music Trail one, there are several of these Mississippi Blues Trail markers throughout the state of Mississippi. And of course, here's one with Elvis Presley and the blues. Elvis Presley revolutionized popular music by blending the blues he first heard as a youth in Tupelo with country, pop, and gospel. Many of the first songs Elvis recorded for the Sun label in Memphis were covers of earlier blues recordings by African Americans, and he continued to incorporate blues into his records and live performances for the remainder of his career. See if there's anything on the back. Same goes for the country music one. There's a lot of cool pictures, quotes, and biographical information, and this one is That's All Right. By the way, it was 70 years ago this month. I mean, the one month I'm doing this. This is July 30th, 2024 that I'm doing this video. So that was when it was first played on the radio. Yeah, big celebratory music and rock and roll. But yes, I'm just going to kind of show you slowly but surely. It says down here, attend a Pentecostal church service where Elvis first fell in love with gospel music. Elvis Presley Birthplace presents a unique experience in the First Assembly of God Church where Elvis and his family regularly attended services. The structure was originally 1 block away on Adams Street. To make way for a larger building, the old church was moved across the street and turned into a residence. In 2008, the building was moved to this site and restored to its original condition. Pentecostal congregations were known for their extended services. One neighbor recalls sitting on the porch on a hot summer's evening and hearing the sweet gospel singing continuing until late into the night. Now, as part of the tour, or at least what I paid for, is a presentation, so we'll have to see. But I'm going to get up closer to the church. Well, it looks very swampy. But I'm glad they raised it above ground. And next to the church is an outhouse, and no, it was not an actual one that Elvis used. But but it's a replica of an outhouse that was typical in a poor southern neighborhood. It was oftentimes shared by several residents. The original outhouse, located behind the row of rental houses along South Tupelo Road, was also shared by members of the Assembly of God Church. Outhouses were located away from the house or building that served for sanitary reasons. The simple structure was referred to as a one or two holders for obvious reasons. Ventilation was provided by a cutout in the door or the side walls in the shape of a half moon. In warm months, it was often the home of uninvited guests such as wasps and spiders. But in the winter, it was bone-chilling cold. Guy Harris, who grew up on this street along with Elvis Presley, remembers outhouses from his childhood. We used a Sears catalog for toilet paper. There was no such thing as Charmin. You might even find a few corn cobs in there too. That's all anybody knew. Alright, let's get a little close-up. For those who have never seen one, I'm sure you all have, but I know I have. A real one, that is. And next to the house and outhouse is the Memorial Chapel. The Elvis Presley Memorial Chapel, full name. And we're gonna go in. Wow, it is air conditioned. But it's definitely seems like a really cool, peaceful vibe place. This chapel is dedicated in memory of Elvis, built with donations for his fans, friends around the world, 1979. Very beautiful. Elvis gospel playing on the speakers. I think I'm just going to kind of take a moment and sit for a bit. And as you're leaving the chapel, going back into the, I guess, the visitor center, you'll be seeing the Fountain of Life. This marker, which doesn't have anything historical, it just says this water feature illustrates the years of Elvis's life, representing the traits of humility and generosity flowing together to form a complete circle. Check it out, this is so nice. I know it's kind of hard to hear me over the water trickling, but where I'm pointing to is the birth year 1935, 36, 37, 38, 39, all the way to when the family moved to Memphis in 1948. Man, what an awesome... And then it says over here, of course, he died in 1977. These are quotes by people that Elvis knew when he was young, like memories that, you know, people wanted to record. I'm sure there's been a lot of interesting stories, like maybe if you knew a famous person before they were famous, you probably have fascinating stories to tell. I don't know. But I'm going to go back in, check out the gift shop, then I'm going to show you another part of the tour. So here we go. Alright, so that is the gift shop. If you collect anything, or if you collect Elvis stuff, bring loads of money. If you want another photo op, hanging out at the Birthplace, hashtag, get your picture taken with these two Elvis cool looking poses. And then in front of me is the Elvis Events Center. And there's still plenty of memorabilia and stuff on the walls. An Elvis Presley scrapbook. Huh? Thanks, Mr. Television Milton Berle, for having me on your show tonight. This is from the collection of Mary Clark from a... Oh, well, it's on loan from a pawn shop in Memphis. Okay. Don't worry, I'll go over there too. Here's some more items from that pawn shop. That's the one, the Fair and Dairy show. I'm sure that EP is worth thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands. Especially that picture sleeve right there. I think that's an ashtray or a candy dish, I don't know. Elvis holding up a sign, visit Elvis Presley Birthplace. And Rick Nelson was actually here in Tupelo for a fundraiser for the birthplace of Elvis Presley. This is, I think, a year before he passed away. This was in 1984. Very interesting. And Hillman, I mean, even though the media pretty much depicted him and Ricky Nelson as rivals because they were both teen idols at the time, they were actually good friends. All right, many more pictures of Elvis memorabilia. I like Elvis, I hate Elvis. Okay. Elvis the joik. Elvis is a jerk. Okay. I guess those are parodies of the I Like Ike buttons from the 1950s. Wow, check this out. See, I didn't even know he had his own board game. And this was his first film, Love Me Tender. And in here is the events center. I mean, I don't really know. I guess they have all kinds of different stuff going on. This could be a good place for a wedding reception, I guess. But yeah, here's the theater. But I'm not going to go see it or anything. Alright, so the events center, I'm leaving, and this is the amphitheater. I'm not sure how many times this ever gets used, but still cool to see, I guess. Alright, so we're gonna go, let's see, Becoming Reflections in the Pavilion. Alright, so we're gonna, I guess, follow the trail. Alright, so we've reached the top, and let me look behind. And as you can see, it's ADA friendly, so let's take a look over here before we go to the Becoming statue. So we're overlooking somewhat the city of Tupelo, although it's kind of, I mostly see trees, maybe a few buildings here and there, and 2 water towers. But when Elvis was young, or actually in his later years, this overlook became one of Elvis's favorite places to visit. It has been developed for the enjoyment of his friends and fans. It is a tribute to his artistry and the contribution his music has made to the world. Placed here in 1989 by the Bertelsmann Music Group and RCA Records. Well, I mean, they have seats where you can also enjoy, kind of get a peaceful look. But I can picture, yeah, during Elvis's life, there's probably less trees, but what do I know? Now we're going to go over here. And once again, this is the Elvis, or the Becoming statue. That is Elvis at 11 down below, and then that's the Elvis as we all knew him, the guy in the gold-studded jumpsuit and with a cape. There's 3 different panels that have historical text on them. And even though most of us know the history of Elvis's upbringing and his life, I'll go ahead and read off a few of them. Like, January 8th, 1946, Elvis's mother Gladys took him to Tupelo Hardware to buy a present for his 11th birthday. Elvis was thinking a .22 caliber rifle or bicycle. Gladys was thinking dangerous and dangerous. After a bit of crying, he was finally persuaded to choose a guitar, in fact his only choice. The Presleys gave their son a $7.75 birthday gift and a priceless legacy to the rest of us. It was a gift that kept on giving. And then it goes on about how he learned to play guitar, like he sang Jesus Loves Me, and he played Old Shep at that church I just showed you, and gospel music. So the reason these statues are intentionally sitting at the highest point of the property, it's pretty much an homage to his beginnings. The statue of Elvis at 11 is life-size, while that of the entertainer is bigger than life, a fitting contrast to one of the greatest cultural icons of the 20th century. As a young boy, Elvis and his friends would run the hills and hollows of East Tupelo. Imagine that after one of those days, Elvis has picked up his guitar and walked up to the overlook for a quiet space. His hair is mussed. One sock has a hole in it, evidence of the Presley family's poverty. He sits on a milk crate, strumming his guitar and looking toward downtown Tupelo. Perhaps it was here that Elvis, guitar in hand, first began to dream the dream of a better life. And then the entertainer, He scored his first #1 single recording in 1956 with Heartbreak Hotel and went on to chart 17 more top 10 hits. He has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame, and the Gospel Music Association's Gospel Music Hall of Fame. And then these are from the Billboard charts, not from Cashbox or Record World, but #1 hits 18. The Beatles and Mariah Carey have only more than that. Top 10 hits, I think Drake surpassed him, but I could be wrong. Top 30 hits and 80 weeks at #1. So unfortunately, a lot of these have been surpassed over the years. However, some people would rather kind of split up the rock era into the hip-hop era, which began supposedly in 1990, and then it goes on to today. And then you have the revision of the Billboard chart rules, which incorporated streaming and downloads, and that kind of messed up how the charts were compiled, because they want to include every track from a Taylor Swift album or a Drake or Post Malone, or I don't know who's the latest Megan Thee Stallion, I don't know, somebody's album. So, but times were a little bit different back then. But still, during the rock era, I mean, Elvis ruled the charts, along with the Beatles and the Stones and many others. But taking one last look at the larger than life, and then yeah, like I said, it depicts him sitting on a milk crate, and that is him looking down downtown Tupelo, which today you can't really see it, but still is great to be here in the spot where Elvis was inspired. And even though he was dead before I was even born, I mean, a lot of us, including Gen Z, we all know his legacy. We all know he was an entertainer. And from what I heard, from what I hear, a lot of people under the age of 10 are fascinated by Elvis, and they beg their parents to take them to Graceland and take them to here, which I think is awesome. But then there's people that look at Elvis as a joke, as some fat guy who, yeah. But people like to call people has-beens, and these are people who were never-beens. You know what I mean? All right, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked Elvis Presley Edition. I'm looking forward to showing you some more Elvis sites, especially here in Tupelo. Plus, I'll be going to Memphis real soon, as well as Bethel Springs, Tennessee. So definitely stay tuned, because it's going to be fun-filled, and if you're a fan of the King, you're in the right place, as I show you a lot of landmarks. All right, I am Jason at the Elvis Presley Birthplace and Museum Complex in Tupelo, Mississippi. Sign off.